Drawing a line in the sand. Congressman Steve King of Iowa joins us. Good evening, sir.
Good evening, Greta.
Are you going to actually know the answer to this question, but I'll ask you anyway. Are you going to vote to raise the debt ceiling?
It's pretty unlikely. I mean, I wouldn't draw it completely out, but I'd want to see the numbers that they have, and I'd want to see the proposal. And if we can put the repeal of Obamacare onto the debt ceiling, I would be so sorely tempted. I think that gives a pretty good signal on where I'll be on it, Greta.
What are the odds on that?
Well, I've been trying to improve them for the last year or better, and I thought that leadership had taken Obamacare essentially off the table with the CR negotiations. I was surprised to see they'd done some work on it, whether there's a lot of substance in there or not. So one doesn't know. The pressure builds, and they hear from a lot of different places. But it is the #1 issue of our time, and it is $2.6 trillion in outlays in the first full 10 years of Obamacare's implementation. So to me, it's a matter of principle. Growing a huge government program and taking away American liberty in an unconstitutional fashion all at the same time, and then to posture that we're trying to get this budget under control, the two things are incompatible. I think we must address Obamacare.
Have you ever voted for raising the debt ceiling?
Yes, I have. And
did you do it in 2006 when President Obama voted no? I'm curious. Do you remember?
Well, no, I didn't. We didn't find ourselves on the same side. We did find ourselves on the same side of that page, actually. In 2004, I voted for a standalone debt ceiling increase of around $800 billion. There have been 9 of them since I've been in Congress. There was another one that passed with a budget that I voted for. And the balance of that, I voted no all the rest of the times that they came up in those 9 increases. And so it's been a long time since I voted for a standalone debt ceiling increase, 2004.
Well, the consequences if we don't get a debt ceiling are, #1 is that we've got to cut spending and raise taxes. We need, I think, was about $738 billion above the debt ceiling to get through September 30th. The other consequence is that we just don't do it. And then we hit the ceiling, the bond market, the stock market, everything goes to hell.
Are we sure about that?
Well, I don't know. You tell me what happens. You tell me what happens.
Well, I don't know that anybody's crystal ball really works on this, but there's always the fear factor that gets thrown in all of these negotiations. People are trying to leverage each side of their argument to try to achieve the preconceived notion that they already have. But I would say this: if the debt ceiling doesn't pass in the short term, accommodations will be made. The pressure will build in the same way that it builds on a threatened government shutdown for a CR that we've just gotten through last Friday night. And
I actually think that you're in a better bargaining position vis-a-vis getting cuts, spending cuts with the deficit ceiling than you were last week. I mean, because that deficit ceiling is so important in order to, in terms of having the impact on the economy and the world economy, that people are going to have to wheel and deal. I mean, you've got a gun to their heads.
Well, and if you're looking at a hard government shutdown like the CR was at midnight on Friday night, that's a hard break. The difference in the debt ceiling is this can be a sliding date. There are accommodations that we can make. We can pay the interest first. We can pay our debts in that fashion by reducing some of the things we're spending money on, and make those adjustments to the budget as the pressure builds. I think there has to be pressure. There has to be pressure brought on the president, and the kind of pressure that was brought on for the budget cuts that we have in the CR. If you notice, he took the credit for it. He said, "I would not have made these cuts in a different time." He might take credit for the reductions that will be necessary to get to a debt ceiling increase, but we need to keep the pressure on, Greta, and we need to repeal Obamacare before that unconstitutional bill spends all the $23.6 billion that are already in the pot. And the administration's effort is to implement that and continue to implement that and do anything they can to send its roots down and expand the dependency class so it's hard to get it repealed when we do elect a president that will sign that repeal.
All right, well, we're getting ready for another battle because this one's going to be brutal. Congressman, nice to see you. Thank you, sir.
Good to see you, Greta. Thanks.
And straight ahead, something no one expected. Wait until you hear